Sponsored by Midland. Communication for every adventure. The industry leader in radio communication technology and innovation for over 50 years.
Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
Hi, my name is Phil from Waypoint Overland, and you're listening to Random Waypoints. All right, so here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Random Waypoints podcast. We'll be doing an episode every week, so like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss an episode. This week, two of our segment topics, communications and taste tests, come from viewers' questions. And we'll have another installment of a segment called Waypoints that deals with navigation and planning itineraries for the overland traveler. Also, I'll share another one of my random lists. This one will be very informative and may save your life, so stay tuned for the whole show. But first, let's look at the news.
During this segment, we'll cover various topics with a connection to overlanding in some way. It could be land use news regarding the national parks or the Bureau of Land Management. We'll keep you up to date on any auto industry news when it pertains to relevant and potential overlanding vehicles. There will be camping and outdoor industry news, as well as photography and video, fishing, hiking, and on and on. Now, here's the news.
The idea of an electric Jeep with a manual transmission has never really crossed my mind, but in anticipation of the 2021 Easter Jeep Safari in Moab, Utah, the automaker has unveiled several concept models that it'll test at the annual off-road event, including the Wrangler Magneto, a Wrangler with an electric motor mated to a 6-speed manual transmission. According to Jeep, the Magneto is based on the two-door Wrangler Rubicon, and it's tuned to mimic the specs of the gas-powered V6 engine, which means the Magneto should work perfectly with the 6-speed manual transmission on the Rubicon. And that's what they did. You'll be able to shift the Magneto into first without using the clutch because the motor doesn't idle. And that also means instant torque and no worries about stalling. From the specs, it should be a great off-road vehicle. The batteries are covered with skid plates to prevent damage from rocks and scrapes. And they're housed in waterproof containers to allow the truck to maintain 30 inches of water fording capability, just like its gas-powered version. Right now, it's a concept vehicle, and there's no way to know if it will ever become a production vehicle. But it's definitely piqued my interest. Alpha Motor Corporation has unveiled Wolf, the automotive company's pure electric pickup truck built on a shared platform with the Alpha Jacks. Wolf is positioned as a fun utility truck for 2 passengers with a spacious cargo bed on an electric platform. It comes in a 4-wheel drive or front-wheel drive system with a towing capacity of 3,000 pounds and a 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds. The vehicle is intended to be equipped with a 75 to 85 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery with an estimated range of 275 miles. The multi-purpose electric utility truck was unveiled in a fresh blue finish named SF Blue, inspired by the sky in San Francisco, California. Wolf also features multi-layered center console storage, multiple charging ports for electrical devices, and audio speakers, all designed for replaceability. Wolf is designed for consumers looking for a solid 4-wheel drive utility truck without the carbon emissions. The launch of the new electric Wolf comes on the heels of the last month's unveiling of Alpha's revolutionary Jax CUV, a 4-wheel drive adventure-seeking electric vehicle for 4 passengers. Additional information on the electric Wolf, including its price, are available on Alpha Motors Corporation website. Now, let's look at Random Lists.
Random Lists is all about lists Waypoint Overland has created on an array of topics, such as top 5 national parks, top 10 trails in the United States, top 10 fill in the blank. I think you get it. Some lists will be pure fun, and others very informational. But they all will have a connection to overlanding in some way. We're very interested in hearing your suggestions for upcoming lists in the comments. Now, here's our random list.
My random list this week is top 5 books I recommend on first aid for overlanders. I own all of these books in paperback as well as on Kindle app. And I recommend having a hard copy and digital copy to everyone. You then have the ability to access them on your phone, your tablet, and computer. At number 1, I have Where There Is No Doctor, a Village Healthcare Handbook by David Werner. It's one of the most widely used public health manuals in the world according to the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization and UNICEF buy the book for their field offices. It successfully brings together modern concepts of public health and personal health care into a usable and understandable format. It's been translated into over 90 languages and considered the most accessibly and widely used community healthcare manual in the world. The book includes sections detailing effective examination techniques, home cures, correct usage of medicines, and their precautions, nutrition, caring for children, ailments of older individuals, and first aid. The information provided in this book is simple, straightforward, and easy to read. I would highly recommend that every person own a copy. At number 2, I have the Survival Medicine Handbook, the essential guide for when medical help is not on the way, by Joseph Alton, MD. If you had to deal with an injury or illness in a disaster, would you know what to do? The Survival Medicine Handbook is a detailed guide for those who want to be medically prepared for any disaster where help is not on the way. This book is geared to enable the non-medical professional to deal with all the likely issues they'll encounter in a catastrophic short or long-term scenario. The book makes the assumption that a disaster, natural or man-made, has removed all access to hospitals or doctors for the foreseeable future, and you are the only medical resource. The book will give you the tools in plain English to competently handle injuries and illness for any situation that leaves you as the last hope for your medical well-being. At number 3, I have the American College of Emergency Physicians First Aid Manual. This first aid manual looks at more than 100 different conditions from splinters and sprained ankles, strokes, unconsciousness, and shows exactly what to do with step-by-step photographic sequences. Every condition is clearly explained, outlining causes, symptoms, and signs, and action plans. The instructions are easy to follow, whether you need information on emergency first aid for babies and children, or tips on resuscitation. At number 4, I have the SAS Survival Handbook, The Ultimate Guide to Surviving Anywhere by John Lofty Wiseman. The Ultimate Guide to Surviving Anywhere reflects the latest in survival knowledge and technology and covers topics such as urban survival and terrorism. The book is the definitive resource for all campers, hikers, and outdoor adventurers, from basic campcraft and navigation to fear management and strategies for coping with any type of disaster. At number 5, I have the Wilderness First Responder, How to Recognize, Treat, and Prevent Emergencies in the Backcountry by Buck Tilton. This book is a comprehensive text for recognition, treatment, and prevention of backcountry emergencies. It's essential reading for wilderness educators, trip leaders, guides, search and rescue groups, and anyone who works or plays far from definitive medical care. This invaluable resource includes expert step-by-step instructions and clear illustrations. It's designed to help anyone provide immediate care in the wilderness, whether they're more than an hour away from an ambulance or a hospital. It shows how to conduct a patient assessment, improvise with the things you have handy, and decide whether or not to evacuate a patient. Well, that's my list. Do you agree or do you disagree? Do you have your own list? Share in the comments. But let's keep it rolling with the viewer question about communications. A viewer of the podcast asked me the following: which model Midland radio do you have installed in your Jeep? And could you please tell me why? First, thanks for the question. And before I get into what exact model I use, let's get into what I require. I try to make as many things as possible in my rig easy to remove. As much as I love being remote on my travels, I also enjoy the things the city has to offer as well. When I do that, I like to unload pretty much everything of value into a hotel or a KOA. So my first requirement was a radio that was easily removed. Second, using a Jeep as my Overlander rig requires being as economical with space as possible. which means I needed a radio that was small and I could install in unique places, but I wasn't willing to give up features to do so. And third, I'm a glasses wearer, and I'm not getting any younger. So for me, it was important that I can easily see the screen and the buttons. So that made it mandatory that all the controls and the screen be on the mic itself. So the choice was pretty easy for me. I first purchased my Midland GMRS radio MXT 275 in February of 2022. Now, the reason I'm telling you that is because I'm proud to say Midland has been a sponsor of this podcast since day one, and they're responsible for the product we will be giving away this episode. However, I've purchased every single product I use by them so far. So if space is a concern or you have limited mounting options, this is a great option. And for you vision impaired drivers like me, you'll love having everything right there on the microphone. An extra of the microphone is the speaker being in the mic. That means if you're in a loud environment, you can always put the mic near your ear and hear all the communications. I hope that answered your question completely. Now let's go to waypoints.
Waypoints. Waypoints will cover all aspects of navigation for the overland traveler. Navigation is the act or practicing of navigating, the method of determining position, course, and distance traveled.
This week was supposed to be about using apps in the field and how they can be used for more than following a track or route as you're navigating. GPS devices are great, but they can break, get lost, or easily be hampered by weather conditions. Even though I recommend these devices and apps for your adventures, by no means mistake that for my endorsement of that being your only means of navigation. Have paper maps of every leg and possible leg of your trip, and know how to read them. Also have a compass and know how to use that as well. Now, a couple of books I recommend on compasses are The Wilderness Navigation, Finding Your Way Using Map, Compass, Altimeter, and GPS. It's the official navigation textbook used in outdoor education courses by thousands of students. Another book is the Be Expert with Map and Compass. This popular orienteering handbook has been the book of choice for professional outdoorsmen, novice orienteers, and outdoor organizations, as well as teachers, scout leaders, recreational hikers, hunters, and others around the world. Now I'm going to list some of the maps I recommend that have taken me all over and I've been completely satisfied with. Now, that's not to say there aren't other sources out there, but these are the choices that have worked for me. The first map I want to recommend is a series of maps. They come from DeLorme Atlas and Gazetteer. They make one for each state, and I personally own over 40 of their maps. The maps have an incredible wealth of detail. They're a perfect companion for exploring the outdoors. They're extensively indexed, full-color topographic maps provide information on everything from cities, towns, historic sites, scenic drives, boat ramps, even prime fishing spots. It's extensively indexed and has handy latitude and longitude overlay grids for each map, and that allows you to navigate with GPS. Next, I have Butler Maps Backcountry Discovery Route maps. They allow you to venture off the beaten path and navigate the backcountry discovery routes. The maps highlight the entire route across the entire state using public dirt roads. You don't have to baby them. They're waterproof and they're tear resistant. You can scan the QR codes to pull up-to-date information as well as seasonal weather and elevation. Next, I have official state highway maps. Now, every state has one, and it's usually issued by that state's Department of Transportation. Just go to the state's official tourism website and get one for free. The maps you can get online from the United States Geological Survey websites are detailed and endless too. Their national forest maps are some of the most accurate and up-to-date maps you can find when venturing into the national forest. You can also usually pick up these maps at a ranger station, national forest headquarters, and some information centers. There are a lot of maps I could have mentioned, but these are the ones I keep going back to and I've been happy with. You can navigate this entire country with a combination of these maps. Now let's move on to taste tests.
Taste tests. Taste test is where we evaluate the taste of a food product, whether on its own or compared with other products. Some taste tests will be conducted blind, while others will focus on a particular brand or item.
All right, this week's taste test will be used to answer questions I received about food. The first question was very short and it was to the point. What kind of tequila do you recommend for a steak dinner at camp? Well, my favorite kind of tequila to have a steak with is Anejo. If I was to recommend a particular Anejo, I say go with Casamigos Anejo tequila. Now, there are a lot of celebrity brands out there pitching generic tequilas as premium tequilas and charging astronomical prices. So we're going to see if the hype is real about this ultra premium tequila by celebrity George Clooney and his partner Randy Gerber. Now, the official story of how the tequila came about is that George and Randy came up with the idea of the brand while vacationing together in Mexico in 2010. They sampled all kinds of tequila from local bars and restaurants and decided to make one of their own that would be just for them. They found a distiller in Mexico and had the tequila delivered to their homes, which were both situated on the property known as Casamigos. The name is a play on words that can be roughly translated as House of Friends. The tequila was for George, Randy, their friends, and family. But when they tried to order over 1,000 bottles, the distiller told them that they needed a license. And that led to the brand officially being launched in 2013 and made available to the public. It became very popular and one of the fastest growing tequila companies in the world. Later, the brand was acquired for $1 billion. The truth is, it was found out that George Clooney and Randy Gerber set up a company and filed several trademarks in 2011, which is well before ever having it mentioned to them by the distiller. Don't hate the player, hate the game. So let's get into this. Now, Casamigo tequila, in my opinion, it isn't for shots or mixing in a drink like margaritas. To me, it's more of a sipping tequila that needs to be appreciated. You'll notice a touch of caramel and vanilla, and it pairs well with a good steak, a burger, or steak fajitas. And like most aged Anejos, they go good with chocolate and milk too. It's aged for 14 months in American oak barrels, and these are small batch ultra premium tequilas. So they use 100% blue agave, and they come from Jalisco in Mexico. So let's get into this. Now, this isn't my everyday tequila, but this is a tequila that I do like. This is kind of like a special occasion tequila for me. And a steak dinner is a special occasion to me, especially if I'm having one where it's around the campfire and I've gone to Costco or somewhere and I've bought a bunch of steaks and I'm serving steaks to everybody at the campfire. I'm going to serve a tequila to go with it. This isn't, like I said, my everyday favorite wine, but this is the wine that I would go for. One, because I think it's appropriate and it tastes good. But also it is a premium tequila. It's not just a celebrity. They really handled their business, and it's time to try some of this. And like I said, I think it's more of a sipping tequila, so I'm not going to really just throw these back. And I don't know about you, but there's not many tequilas or alcohols that I can sip straight. And this one is one of those few. I really enjoyed telling you that story about George Clooney and his partner and how they created a story to get people excited and to spend their money on the tequila. And it kind of reminds me of some people in the Overland community. They portray one image here, but it's another story there. Kind of like a similarity there. Now, I want to go into what I have here. I have some Slim Jim pork rinds with chicharrones. And I've got to look at this packaging for this because I've never had this before. The Landhager Original Smoked Swiss-Style Sausage Bites. A blend of fresh spices and a hint of smoke. That's them right there, if you're interested. I've already opened them and I've been munching on them. I think you even saw me eat one of them. They already passed my test. They're good. They average out about to the same price as if I had bought some pepperoni sticks or something like that. And that's pretty much what they are. They just cut them for you. I would love for someone to, not someone, but all of you guys, I would love for you to go down into the comments and tell me what's your favorite tequila. I'd like to know what your recommendation would be for a tequila for steak. And I would like to know what you like to have with steak. Now me, it depends upon my environment. Like if I go to a steakhouse, I'm a surf and turf guy. I usually get a ribeye and like a lobster tail or some shrimp or whatever the surf part of the surf and turf is. I order that. At home, I usually go the same route over and over again. I have a steak, a ribeye steak, and I either have some spinach that I saute real quick, flash saute, or I have asparagus. It's one or the other. Nothing else, because I really want to focus on the steak when I have one. I've really cut back on eating steaks, cut back on eating beef, period. So when I do, I'm all in for it. Now, if you've been watching the podcast and the ones where I've drank alcohol, you already know I'm not an alcohol person, so the point I'm making is you see I'm sipping this tequila. That's how smooth it is. And Anejos, which are darker tasting, are usually the ones that I have the hardest problem with. Because as they get darker, they get oakier and smokier flavoring. And it's just kind of unappealing. But this is like a real sophisticated, dark, smooth flavor. I'm not no professional tequila person, so I don't know what the slick words are that you're supposed to say for this. The only thing I can think of, it's elegant for a tequila. It's smooth. It's sophisticated. I like it a lot. If it wasn't so expensive, this would be my favorite tequila. It's one of my favorite tequilas, but it loses points with me because it's expensive. This bottle, I paid $65 for. If you shop around, you might be able to find it for maybe about $10 cheaper, maybe. But I had it delivered to me, so there's that. Now, this was about steak, but I also want to mention with Anejo, goes great with chocolate. It goes great with chocolate. I've seen people just have chocolate, all different kind of chocolates, and this. I think it goes good with pork. And what I have here, chicharrones or pork rinds. I've never had these before, but they're turning out to be okay. I bought them from Slim Jim, the guys who make, I think, jerky called Squealing Hot. And I like them. I would get them again. It was $1.09 a bag. I've never seen them in a store. They look like something you'd probably find in a gas station. But because of the pork rind itself, the saltiness of it, and the mixing of the hot flavoring, whatever kind of hot flavoring they have on it, it makes your mouth water, which is a good thing. That's why chocolate is good with tequila too, because it makes your mouth water. And by making it your mouth water, it makes you have a taste for the tequila, and the tequila is more satisfying. That's what I think. One day I'm gonna look that up to see if that's an actual thing, but that's what I think. I know my mouth waters, and this satisfies it. So I'm gonna kind of give you a preview of the second part of the taste test. Somebody asked me what my everyday coffee was, since I've been taste testing different coffees and stuff. So I'm gonna show you my everyday coffee. It's probably totally different than what you think. It might be exactly what you think, but it's not a common coffee, but you can buy it anywhere. But I'm not gonna get into that yet. Just letting you know, after this, we're gonna have some coffee. And I would buy these again. A lot of times when I'm done with this, I take all the stuff and throw it away. I'm gonna throw this in the cooler, take it home. I can see me eating these in my office. Just these and a beer or a shot of tequila. It'll be more likely a shot of tequila. I don't drink too much beer. I like beer, but gives me gas and stuff and makes me want to burp. And I have to go to the bathroom more often, it seems, when I drink beer, because you drink more of it. And another thing, if you've watched me before, usually when I drink tequila, I'm sucking on these right after every sip, because I need it to offset the strong kick of the alcohol to me. I just kind of want the taste more than I really need it with this. It's just really smooth. Now, they have a Blanco, and I like that too, but this is my opinion of Blanco tequilas. I don't care what brand you are. I don't care what the name is on it. I don't care what agave you use or nothing like that. In my experiences, if I paid $20 for the bottle, if I paid $200 for the bottle, if it's a decent tequila, they seem to all taste the same to me when they're a Blanco. And I did a little research today and found out that with the Blancos, the process in which they make them is so fast, so simple, that that's pretty much really is the case. They're all basically the same. There's nothing really more special about one brand or another when you get into the Blancos, from my research and from my own taste tests. And that's why I generally never get the Blancos. Like, I know the most popular thing you see people these days drinking is Patron, and they're usually drinking the Blanco. And I'm like, it's already a waste of money to spend that much money on Patron, but it's even more of a waste of money to pick the Blanco. So hopefully you didn't skip ahead, because I want to talk about some of the things we talked about earlier in the show. One of them is, how about that Jeep? That electric Jeep if they make that Jeep, it's just a concept vehicle right now. But if they make that Jeep, it's the first Jeep since the JL where I'm like, maybe it's time for me to get another vehicle. I'm already interested in moving forward into electric vehicles. And the concept vehicle with its specs is the first one that actually seems like one that I would say, hey, I'll make that my Overland vehicle. I didn't have enough time to cover all the Jeeps at Easter Jeep Safari, but they had several other Jeep concepts, and one of them was actually called an Overland Jeep. But that one wasn't as interesting to me, and the reason is because basically they just tricked it out. So, I can trick it out on my own. But the actual foundation of having that electric, 275-mile range, that's the minimum that's acceptable to me. Most of us are only getting 275 to 350 no matter what vehicles we got out there. If you got a lift and all that other stuff on it, you getting horrible mileage. So 275 is really not that bad. And the torque isn't crazy. I think it was, I can't remember what the exact torque was, 3,000 foot-pounds or something like that. It wasn't crazy, especially for an electric vehicle. But latched to that transmission that was originally made for the Rubicon, they couldn't have that powerful electric engine throwing all that torque onto that transmission. That transmission, it can't handle that electric power. So in my mind, it was kind of more logical to have a manual transmission to have some kind of gauge of the power with the electric. Because if you've ever driven an electric vehicle, it's just you hit the gas and it goes. It's nothing like a gas engine, because there's no lag, there's no nothing. You hit the gas, it goes, and the torque is outrageous. I remember when Teslas first came out, there was a guy that used to come to an area which I won't mention where the guys used to race. And he was taking everybody's money because nobody really knew much about the electric cars, and they had no idea the kind of torque these vehicles had. And he'd race them in these little short distance races, and he'd just destroy guys. And I'm talking about guys that had all kinds of things like turbochargers and nitro bottles and everything. And he just boom, and destroy them. But the word got out on him like after about 3 weekends. But he made enough money. Yep, if this didn't cost so much, I'm not willing to pay this amount for my everyday tequila. But I have a bottle that's already opened at home. I thought it looked tacky for me to bring my bottle from home. But I keep a bottle, but my bottle lasts me 4 to 6 months because I don't really drink it that much. I drink it like special occasions, like a good steak, or I'm gonna watch a movie and I'm just in the mood for an Anejo. Do you guys like chicharrones? The best ones to me are when you are like at a festival or something, and there'll be some guy with a little hand cart and he's making them right there. Or you go to like in a Mexican neighborhood, a predominantly Mexican neighborhood, and then somebody somewhere on some corner is going to be selling some chicharrones. And those are the best ones to me. Now, growing up, I didn't even know what I was eating. We used to just call them pork rinds. But I also grew up eating pork rinds in the South. I didn't grow up in the South, but my family is from the South, so we used to visit I know the South very well. And they used to slaughter a hog, and then they'd peel that skin off, and they'd make crackling and rinds and stuff like that. And that was like a big treat to get it. You people from the South probably know about that. And since we on that, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I know probably you've got the impression I don't know nothing about a farm or anything like that. But I know how to slaughter a hog. I know how to make sausage from a hog. I know how to do just about all the daily chores that you would do on a farm. Because every summer when I was growing up, we'd go down to Mississippi or we'd go down to Arkansas where my mother and father are from. And I used to look forward to every summer just shifting gears because I'm originally from Chicago. I really enjoyed that shifting gears from a city to living out there. So every opportunity to do something, what we called country, anything we could do that was country, I was all up for doing it because it was the opposite of everything I was doing. We used to fish for perch, snakes. We used to have like these little pitchforks, and we'd go catch frogs and eat frog legs. I know it's kind of morbid, but I used to look forward to when they finally let me go get a chicken and bring it in. And that meant that you was gonna catch it and you was gonna twist its neck and then bring it in the kitchen. I thought I was a man after that. Kind of like the African tribesman that goes out and kills the lion. I felt like that. This is a dangerous tequila in my opinion. And the reason why I say that is because when I'm drinking this, I always notice on my last sip that I drank way more than I thought that I was going to drink. I end up drinking more of this. And part of the reason is it's smooth, but the other part is I feel no effects. I don't feel that buzz. You feel a buzz, but it's real slow, smooth, and gradual. It isn't like you're like, man, I don't really feel this, and then boom, it hits you. It's nothing like, it's just real, which is not normal for alcohol for me. It usually hits me, and then I'm like, oh, let me stop. The thing about these spicy chicharrones is it's loosening up my esophagus, and then this alcohol is being poured right down it. It's like my throat is burning right now, but it's a good burn. Talking about this tequila allowed me to cover more than one thing. I wanted to answer the lady's well, now you know it's a lady. I wanted to answer the lady's question about which one to go with, the steaks. But I wanted to talk about these celebrity tequilas. This is one that just happened to pan out. There's a lot of other ones, and I don't want to mention no names, but there's like another one that's people like to compare this one against a lot by another famous actor, action star. That's all I'm going to say about that. And like his tequila is so ordinary, and I'm finding that people just like, oh, this particular person made this tequila, and you're like, yeah, but they don't know anything about tequila. So why is a famous person the attraction to a tequila? You know, if I was going to buy a car, the only person who would excite me about their purchase of a car is somebody famously known for driving cars, not a celebrity. Same thing with tequila. I'm not excited about a celebrity unless I find out they grew up in Mexico and owned a distillery and knew everything about tequila. That's just me. Another thing I wanted to go back over. Is in our navigation segment. I did some serious backtracking because I had gotten so deep into talking about these different apps and these electronic devices. And I do not want to be the show or the YouTube program or whatever you want to call it that you tune into, and I'm getting you so geeked up about stuff that may be important, may be something you enjoy, but there's some things you should have before, and there's some things that should be prioritized ahead of. And in our navigation segment, I needed to pause and reiterate and reemphasize to everyone that I don't care if you got a $600 or $700, Garmin Overlander GPS device, or the top of the line Apple 12-inch iPad Pro with all the latest navigation apps on it and a satellite connection to it, or whatever. I have experienced a million times where there's cloud cover, where I'm in a forest where the trees are they're literally like wrapping like this around the car. And I'm not getting no signal. Now imagine going through areas like that and it's snowy and it's cloudy, or it's been raining and thunderstorming, and the cloudy is the big thing. A lot of clouds. You could be sitting there waiting 5 minutes for your GPS to catch a satellite. You get to drive in about a minute or two and it'll cut out. You can't trust electronic devices. Now, with that said, I use them heavily, but I want to show you something. I don't have it. I wanted to show you something. Don't worry about it. Anyway, I wouldn't feel comfortable just saying, oh, I've got my GMRS radio, I've got my CB radio, I've got my satellite radio, I've got my GPS, I've got my tablet, I've got all of these toys, and I don't have, for redundancy and safety, the actual paper maps of where I am and what I'm doing. That's just crazy. Now, when I'm in Washington, my home state, and I'm on trails that I've been on a million times, okay, that's different. But if you're on an overlanding journey, you're supposed to be some places that you've never been before, and it's just crazy. Most people that I meet on the trail, they're either broke down or they're lost. One of the two, broke down or lost. Hardly ever just meet somebody, I'm going this way, they're going that way, and hey, how you doing? When I meet somebody, they always sitting there, their car is broken down for some reason, or they're lost. They're usually at like one of those forks, and they don't know whether they should take Forest Road 62 or 62A. And I'm like, how did you get this deep into the forest and not have what you need to get out of the forest? And a paper map is what you need. I really wanted to say that. I do not want the reputation of he wants you to just buy stuff. No, I'll show you something to buy if I think it's something you may like. But I want to be clear on the things that this is something you should get because you need it. And these are some things just because you want it. And the majority of the things will be things that you just want. Most people who I encounter who are what I consider actually really true overlanders, almost every one of them, one of the things they have in common is when they decided they wanted to go, they went. And then they figured out stuff as they went. They didn't start their story. When you ask them to tell their story in the beginning, it's not like, I took 2 years building my rig and 3 years doing this and doing that. It was, I had a truck, I had a tent, and I wanted to go and I went. That's basically their stories usually. Obviously, it's not exactly that story, but the gist of it usually is, once I had enough to do it, I went. And having enough to do it is very minimal. Once you get the vehicle, that's a lot of it. You get the right vehicle for the kind of overlanding and the kind of overlanding. Let me talk about that. You can be an overlander and not be a four-wheeler. You don't have to be on dirt trails all the time to be an overlander. You don't have to have a rock crawling vehicle to be an overlander. It helps, and it really helps if in your overlanding you plan on taking a lot of routes and going a lot of places that require your vehicle to be a rock crawler. But I know people all over the world. I know people who have traveled all over the world. And none of them have these big rock crawling rigs that everybody's pushing on you on these YouTube channels. I see their vehicles, and then I see the vehicles of the people that are actually doing it. And I'm trying to be modest, but I'm one of those people that actually goes out and does it. And I don't have all that stuff. And having all that stuff would prevent me from being able to do. Especially in the neighborhood I live in, there's just so many, the rigs that drive around in my neighborhood are just amazing. But it's very obvious that the majority of them have had like no trail time. And if they've had trail time, it's just like to a state park or something and back. And it's just sad. And sometimes they'll see me, I'll see them, and they want to talk. And they're always talking about, I just got to get this rack. I've just got to get this lift. I've just got to get that. And then I'm going to go on my first trip. And I laugh and I smile with them, but I'm like, because I don't respect it. I'm like, okay, your rig right now is nicer than mine. You have no excuse. And I've gone everywhere. You have no excuse. And I'm an old man, so you young guys out there, I'm trying to tell you, you keep putting stuff off, you keep talking about what you're going to do, and then you're going to be older, and it's going to be too late. And I've had this discussion before. What usually people say is, oh no, well, I plan on doing it at this stage or at that age or whatever. And the thing is, what you can do at 30, you can't do at 40, you can't do at 50, you can't do at 60. So as you grow older, physically, your options start to go away. There's some things that you have in your mind to do that by the time you actually get around to doing them, you're going to be too old. I don't care how well you take care of yourself, how well you diet. I'm gonna share a little bit about myself. I've been planning a trip on a motorcycle to Alaska for almost 10 years. And something has come up every single time. And when I first had the idea in my mind to take this trip, I was physically in another place. I feel like I'm too old to take that trip now. And I mean, I plan on taking a trip to Alaska this year, but it's not going to be on a two-wheel vehicle, and it's definitely not going to be up and down the trails. And if I took the trip, I couldn't take it the way that I had planned 10 years ago. I'm not that man anymore. And it's hard to say that. It's hard to look into a camera and say that and know that that's about to go on YouTube. But I hope it affects you and helps you to understand that you have to move on your dreams. You have to have goals if this is your thing, and you have to start moving toward them. It can't be, that's my goal once I do it. It can't be my goal once I do this. It has to be, this is my goal. It has to be part of what your goals are now. Not that I have these goals, and once I achieve them, then I can do that. It has to be part of what your goals are now. If you really plan on doing this Overland thing, you'll end up older, and you might still get out there, and you might end up doing the things you want, a lot of the things you want to do. But it's totally different doing something when you're 30. It's totally different from when you're 40. It's totally different from when you're 50, 60, and so on. So I hope my young people are hearing that out there, and the older people who are watching this are probably going, I know exactly what you're talking about. The mind is still young, but so I hope I've done a good job of answering your question about the tequila and a steak. Last few weeks, I've kind of talked down on steak dinners, saying that, I get tired of seeing that being people's go-to meal. And I love steaks. I'm a ribeye guy. I like Kobe, but it has to be cooked by somebody else. I've tried a few times to cook it myself. It tasted good, but it still wasn't as good as it should be because I didn't cook it properly. And it's too expensive for me to cook it and mess it up. All right, so dig this. I'm going to clean this up, and we're going to go to our other question, which is, what's my regular everyday coffee? And I'm looking forward to drinking it because I have a serious buzz right now, and I need the coffee because I have to drive home. I'm in a studio and I have to drive home. And coffee is what I should be drinking before I leave. So we'll be right back. Our other viewer question was my favorite everyday coffee. My everyday coffee is Cameron's Coffee Toasted Southern Pecan. It's always in my kitchen at home and on the trail. This is the only coffee I actually enjoy black. Now, with that said, I do add cream and I add sugar. A lot of flavored coffees that you taste, they're good, but they usually don't taste like whatever they call it. You'll clearly taste the pecans in this coffee, and I love it. I originally discovered this coffee on Amazon. They offered it to me at a ridiculous price when I was grocery shopping several years ago. I've kept a couple of bags in the pantry ever since. Now, Amazon stopped delivering it with our groceries a couple of years ago, but I immediately started buying it on their main site. So, let's check it out. Now, like I said, this is an answer to what my everyday coffee is. And the unique thing about my everyday coffee is usually with foods and drinks and things like this, when you ask somebody about what their everyday of it is, that particular product is usually the basic or very plain. This is a very distinctly flavored coffee. You will never mistaken it for another coffee. It's clear cut. This coffee tastes like no other tastes like it. But this distinct flavor that it has is one of the most flavorful I never even thought of pecans as a main flavor in coffee, let alone it being a good flavor, let alone it being my most favorite flavor. Just try this, y'all. This may not be your everyday coffee, but if you like coffee, you're going to like this. This is a good, if you have another coffee, this is a good change up. The flavor is going to be so different. I don't care what you're drinking. The flavor is going to be so different with this coffee that it'll make a good change up coffee, even if it's not your everyday coffee. I like to drink it every day and change up with just a regular coffee or some other coffee. I look forward to this coffee. This is also my wife's everyday coffee. We both drink this coffee. We both like this coffee. We'll sit and be drinking it together. And even though we've been drinking it for years now, we'll comment on how we still like it and how it's a good coffee. And we'll get into a discussion about what we used to drink and how it's funny that this is the one that we drink most often. Now, with that said, I drink other coffees. I'm addicted to venti mochas from Starbucks. There was a time, I'm ashamed to say, but I used to drink one every single day. I've had to cut back on that. But I'm a coffee drinker. That's what I am. Like I said, I'm not an alcohol person, but I'm a coffee drinker. I like coffees. I like mochas. I like hot chocolate. Things in that hot beverage category I generally like. What do I want to tell you about this coffee? I'm not a coffee expert. It's delicious. It's a delicious coffee. Now, I've already mentioned I drink it with cream and sugar. But this is the only coffee I have ever drank in my whole entire life that if I only have it in black, I'll drink it and I'll actually enjoy it. I won't enjoy it a lot. It won't be my preference, but I won't be mad. I'll drink it. I'll be fine with it. And something that's amusing to me is it's not on this bag, but when I looked on the website, it says something about that it's a light roast. And there's nothing light about this roast. It's a very dark flavored roast. Maybe I made a mistake. I could have sworn that I saw something saying about it was a light roast, but still, to make the point, this is a dark flavor roasted coffee. Whether it is a dark roasted coffee, it has a dark roasted flavor for sure. Out of dark roasted coffees, this would have one of the darker roasted flavors of your coffee because it has that significant pecan flavor taste in it. It tastes like they ground up a bunch of pecans. They didn't even use like real coffee. It's like they used pecans and roasted the pecans and used those instead. It's that significant of a flavor. So I want to, if you're not a person that's adventurous in any way with your palate, if you just want some straightforward coffee, this is not it. This is not it. You won't like it. Now, with that said, everyone who's ever come to my house that I've served this coffee, I've always prefaced that I'm gonna let you try my coffee, but if you don't like it, I'll make something else for you. And they usually want to know what the coffee is. And I've had several people now, it's not their main coffee, but they've bought the coffee and they use it. I drink this coffee so regularly that even sometimes people give me a bag of this coffee. That tequila still kind of has me buzzing. I have a lot of cleaning up to do around here. Not a lot of cleaning up, but I got cleaning up to do. I have some projects that need attention. I have a project I want to start on. And hopefully by that time, the effects of the tequila, I know you're probably rewinding, looking at the bottle saying, you didn't have that much tequila. That was a lot of tequila for me. I think I drank 5, maybe 6 shots, maybe even more. And I'm like a 2 to 4 shots. 4 shots is like, I've really been doing some drinking. 4 shots. Because I don't like to get drunk. That's probably a lot of the reason why I'm not a drinker. To me, alcohol sneaks up on you. So I don't like drinking something where I'm not abreast of where I am mentally and physically at that moment all the time. So I'm not comfortable getting intoxicated. Now this company, Cameron Specialty Coffee, and this is funny. Usually when I find something I like and it seems like it's a good brand, then I usually explore the other things in that brand. I've never had any of their other coffees. And through my research, I found out like they're a pretty big company. They supply coffees to like hotels and different things like that, higher end hotels that are looking for specialty coffees. And they have like all kinds of different flavored coffees, but I enjoy this coffee so much that my natural curiosity has not come to me to want to try any of their other coffees. Now that I'm talking about it, I'll probably go home and order like a couple of bags of some other flavor coffee, but I've been drinking this coffee for about maybe 4 years. It's when I first learned about it. And I've never even thought about trying another coffee. It's my regular everyday coffee. There's been a few times where we ran out of coffee and me and my wife get aggravated till the coffee comes because we have to wait for it to be delivered. I guess we could find it at a grocery store, but we've gotten so comfortable with the idea of our groceries being delivered. And when we compare the prices are usually cheaper when we get them delivered. So it just makes more sense. No, we don't have to travel, especially in this COVID thing. And it's cheaper. So I hope that answers that question about what my everyday coffee is. And there's some things you might ask me, what's my everyday or what my regular is? And my answer can only be what it is that I'm using now or this month or this summer or whatever. This has been a constant, and this probably won't change anytime soon. I'll try a whole bunch of coffees. I have a whole bunch of coffees at home, and I'll drink all of those, but this is the one that I yearn for, that I have like a caffeine fit and need. This is the one. So with that, that wraps up another episode of the podcast. Now, we'll see you next week, and I hope you like, share, and subscribe. So with that, I want everybody to stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully I'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.